Let Sandy know 2019 being physically assaulted by Antifa. He's a senior editor, Post-Millennial, why I can't talk today. Also author of the book Unmasked, if you want to know about Antifa. Andy, here we are, about 4 years later, if memory serves me, and how do you still process all that crap?
That wasn't the only assault, unfortunately. 2 years after that, in May of 2021, I was beaten again when I was undercover on the streets of Portland. And I never got justice through prosecutors in either case. But how I process it is that I, like many American citizens, have experienced a two-tier system of justice, depending on which jurisdiction you live in. If you're perceived to be on the right or somehow against the agenda of the radical far left, you are not then deserving of various rights. And so what I've seen in Portland and many other cities where I do reporting on in the US, on the West Coast in particular, is that Antifa can organize publicly and carry out acts of criminal violence and property destruction in the open. And if they are arrested, they have their charges dropped by left-wing prosecutors. If a conservative group wants to hold some type of patriotic event or pro-Trump event at a park or somewhere in public and they are assaulted, police won't show up and they're entirely on their own and will just have to deal with being beaten or even killed. There was a Trump supporter who was killed by an Antifa member in 2020 in Portland during the riots.
Andy, I've tried to explain this to people on the right before, that they are walking into an area that is no longer America. Because when I tell people, hey, don't do this or don't go there, be careful protesting here, I will inevitably get a patriotic person, I'm not bad-mouthing them, but a patriotic person saying, are you telling me I don't have the First Amendment? And I'm trying to explain to them, no, you don't, not there, not in Portland.
Yeah, I've actually seen those tweets from you. You're right. If it doesn't even necessarily have to be like a right-wing political event. For example, in 2021, there was an evangelical Christian group that wanted to do a family worship event in downtown Portland, and Antifa saw that as a threat. And so Antifa announced publicly on social media that they were going to show up, and they did, and showed up with weapons and threw these homemade explosives where children were, where families were just gathered. And police never came. And the sound equipment for that worship event was dumped into the Willamette River. Police made no arrests. So yes, you are right that on paper, yes, there's a First Amendment in everywhere in the United States of America. In reality, it's very different because the rule of law in many, many jurisdictions are compromised. And this is the brilliance, I think, of George Soros and other left-wing funders of district attorneys across the U.S. is that by just spending money on strategic positions, political positions, you can have huge, immense power and consequence affecting millions and millions of American citizens.
Andy, why would Antifa show up to a Christian event? That doesn't make sense. These are anti-fascists, right? But why would a Christian event bother them in any way?
So Antifa can really only organize and rally people in opposition to something. So in 2016, the election of Trump was actually a huge propaganda win for them because on top of their own propaganda messaging, they now have the entire establishment media class and all these institutions, liberal institutions, repeating essentially the same lies that America had elected a fascist. People needed to resist by any means necessary. And when they say that, it's a dog whistle to violence. Well, with Trump out of the office, how now do they rally their comrades together? Well, it's to go after Christians because Christians are fascists, because Christians may oppose abortion. They may be critical of trans ideology or medical transitioning of minors, all these things. So, what Antifa have been organizing around from 2021 onwards is attacking pregnancy resource centers. They did this through these cells that were activated under the name of Jane's Revenge after Roe v. Wade was overturned. They firebombed pregnancy centers from coast to coast in the U.S. Some of them are now being prosecuted. They attack families who protest against CRT or radical queer ideology in curriculums. They attack people who protest against children's drag queen events. So, my point is Antifa constantly moving the goalposts. Really, I mean, to put it simply, they label any opposition as fascist, and they do that because then they can say that, if you don't agree with us, then you're on the side of the fascists, and the language is meant to dehumanize their opposition and also to rally liberals to then be okay with a certain level of political violence, which has happened. You can see that liberals, Democrats, they don't blink an eye when far left extremists use violence to shut down conservative events at universities or in the public, or when far left extremists threaten judges, Supreme Court justices. They don't bat an eye at all. That's kind of just seen as normal now. So this is how insidious I think Antifa on the far left are. People don't really realize that it goes a lot further than the brick throwing, the setting stuff on fire, or hitting somebody on the head with a baton. It's really shifting the culture, the left wing in America, to accept political violence against the right.
Well, they truly are the foot soldiers of these people. And, stay safe out there. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on.
They're on call, and they're protected from up on high, just like we talked about. That's why they do what they do. Anyway, let's talk to Dave Rubin about this.